definitely, there's definitely tips here that will go a long way. So, Sam, do you want to kick off? We're right to go, do you think, everyone?
Yeah, I'd start up. Excellent. Well, again, welcome to this afternoon's presentation on how to stand out to employers, presented to you by the Macquarie University Student Employment Team. There are 4 of us that work in MQSE, myself, Mel Ashby, Sina and Erica comes along as well. We work together in a team with the career team, with the careers and PACE teams, and we're there to help you on your journey through university and employment as you work your way through your degrees. So just before we do get started, I just wanted to mention the standard Zoom etiquette. As always, we've muted you on entry. You're very welcome to come off or raise your hand if you have a question as we go along. Ideally, those questions can sort of be held off until the very end, just to keep the presentation flowing. But you are welcome to raise your hand. We are recording today, so if you would rather have your video off, you're welcome to, but of course it's always nice to see you. Just be aware of that. We are recording. If you do, otherwise, if you've got questions, please don't hesitate. And we're all here to learn and share our experiences, so please be respectful. Thanks, Mel. And as is done, we'll acknowledge country. I acknowledge the traditional owners of the Macquarie University land, the Wallamadigal clan of the Durug Nation. We pay respects to the elders and knowledge holders who have and continue to share their wisdom and knowledge, nurturing and sustaining our environments, cultures and education. Thanks, Mel.
Okay, so let's get on with the presentation. So just as companies have memorable brands, and your personal brand is what we're going to talk about today, it is extremely important how to put your best foot forward. Your personal brand is not just your skills and achievements that you've done from an academic point of view. You really do need to think about it in a more holistic means. Sam, got any thoughts here, or...?
Just that says it about how you're going to market yourself out there in the workplace. Like it's nice being in school bubbles and university bubbles, but all those things are leading towards the next step, which is your career. So, you know, like let's get on with it. We've got the 15 pointers. Let's have a look at them and away we go. So the number one thing is that you need to believe in yourself. If you present to an employer, even if it's on paper and you have spelling errors and you're not quite concise about what it is you want to say, then you end up not presenting yourself on your front foot. You end up sort of looking like you're not really interested. So it's important that you have belief in what you're doing and what you've been doing through your academia and through your life. So over to you,
It's an interesting one, isn't it, Samuel? We were talking earlier about you can present yourself with confidence, but also it is just really important to come across as quite humble in that. It's a fine line between being too confident and I guess coming across as arrogant. So it is, I think confidence is more about projecting your knowledge and doing that with confidence. So yeah, it's a good one, that one, and it is definitely key. So the next one is making sure that your resume is up to date and everything is up to date with regards to not just your job. Make sure your phone number is correct. Make sure that your email address is correct. This is one thing that from a recruitment point of view will be the first thing that rules you out. If for some reason your details are inaccurate, your telephone number is inaccurate, they won't chase you. They will just, there's too much for competitive space, don't you think, Sam?
Yep, indeed. The other thing to be mindful of is when you use your Macquarie University email address, if you're applying for roles and you're near graduation or you have graduated, that email address will only sort of stay with you for about a year after you finish university. So just be mindful that you will need to change that to a personal email address going forward. The other thing is, you know, we say it's important to update your resume. I had a resume yesterday that said she was graduating in 2021. Now, being in 2022, I don't know whether she did graduate. So it sort of ruled her out immediately, and you don't want to do that. You want to be putting yourself at the forefront of everything that you can possibly say about yourself. So be mindful of, you know, when you did last update your resume, it's very easy to think, yeah, it's done, when in fact it's probably not quite up to date. So just be aware of that. And it's important.
Maybe have someone proofread it for you. Would be, you know, they can ask questions that they can see gaps.
Definitely. All right.
Okay, but while you're in writing mode, and it is a really good idea to get your LinkedIn profile up to date. It is one of the major tools that is used by employers at the moment. It says a lot more than just what your resume does. You might be following particular industry groups, which, you know, shows how you're keen to get into that particular industry. You may have done LinkedIn learning, you know, learn how to communicate effectively. I don't know which one of your forte is, but there's lots of different things that can be added to your LinkedIn profile that say a little bit more about you. So they would definitely make that one of the stops when they're investigating further.
Definitely, and that's where you'll find also information on who you're going to meet with if you're having an interview. So it's important, and you will, for lack of a better word, you will be stalked by potential employers. They will want to see what you've been up to, what you've been doing. Obviously, if you've spent the last few years at university, they'll want to get an understanding of what you're passionate about and what you've really enjoyed studying. So don't rule that out. Your LinkedIn profile does create your, not social media profile, but your online profile, and you will be stalked. These companies are investing a lot of money employing you, and they want to make sure that all aspects of you are covered, and this is an important and special way to do it.
Oh, and totally agree. Stealth, it sounds much better than stalk, Sam, anyway.
They will check you out.
Both are appropriate, right? Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, I think that one of the things that is happening a lot today is we are doing video CVs, we are doing video first interviews. Once upon a time it was the phone screens, but now it seems to have moved more so to presenting yourself in a video form. So it is a really good one to not do last minute. Prep this, have other people watch it. You may need more than one. Maybe you'll need one for your professional roles you apply for. You may need one that is particularly for student roles. A lot of hospitality organisations at the moment are using video applications. So in a way to put your best foot forward and show, I guess, a little bit about your personality. Yeah, definitely one to prep, don't you think, Sam?
Indeed. It's the video interview is becoming more and more familiar and frequent, especially, as you say, Mel, around uni, when they're recruiting for a lot of roles. You know, if there's 30 Student Connect roles that are, you know, available, instead of interviewing everyone and taking that half an hour, they're asking for a 5-minute video to tell them a bit about yourself. It's a great opportunity for you to practice your skills in front of a camera. Even right now with us on Zoom, you'll probably be noticing that we're trying to make eye contact with the camera, which is really odd. We know you're out there, but I can't see you. And I hope that what I'm doing right now is engaging and you feel like I'm looking at you. So it's a good opportunity for you to make your own video and to practice those skills, because, for example, again, yesterday I interviewed a really fabulous candidate, a student just like you guys. The whole interview, he was looking in the distance. And from an interviewer's point of view, I felt like he wasn't really interested in what he was telling me. His answers were fantastic, but he was disengaged. He was on another planet. He was over here. He was over there. So doing a video about yourself is not only a great thing to have ready to go in case you need it, but it's also a really good opportunity to practice your skills. This is how we're living now. Zoom is becoming more and more prevalent, and so it's great for you to take the opportunity to learn how to do it really well. You can watch yourself back, how embarrassing, but you can actually see how important it is to engage with the camera on your laptop or your phone or whatever it is that you're making it on.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are doing a video interview, make sure that it is in a quiet space. Make sure that you don't take those phone calls or videos calls in an environment that is noisy. There's background noise, the dog's barking, and turn your mobile phone off if you're not using your phone. Any distractions, that sort of affects the professionalism that you are presenting. And again, back to being keen and engaged to actually have a conversation about a role. Reflecting on your personal brand, look, this is something that really needs to be pre-prepared. If you want a little bit of help with this, we can always steer you back to our career support team. I'm sure they'd be really great at giving you some great tips and tricks around this. But who you are at work and how others perceive you. It is super important to think about keywords so that when you're actually speaking within an interview environment, you are using the right keywords. Your hiring manager, that's what they will be listening for. You are a team player, you are collaborative. I would also encourage you to have examples of what actually proves that you are these keywords. So if you're innovating, what would be an example that you can give to back that up? So that would be my suggestion around that topic.
Definitely, it's really important that you spend some time thinking about who you are and what you're about. And I don't think any of us spend nearly enough time doing that. When you do that and you come up and you use these adjectives that we're suggesting there, you sort of get a bit of insight into where you want to be, what you want to do, the sort of roles you're looking for. It's actually worth spending the time to think about who you are. And yeah, as I said, we don't tend to do that. So it's a good way to sort of prepare yourself for any interviews or upcoming any sort of situations that you may have to describe where you are. We will always say to you all, the most important thing the big question you're going to get asked in an interview is, can you tell me a bit about yourself? If you know who you are and you've got these ideas in your head and you've got your adjectives and your descriptions, it becomes a really easy question and it becomes a really easy answer, more importantly. So it's definitely worth investing your time in this. It seems really obvious, but I don't think it is. I don't think nearly enough of us spend time working out who we are, what we're doing, where we want to go, how do we want people to see us, who am I exactly in the work environment. So, yeah.
Yeah, Sam and I were speaking this morning about a particular question that I have used quite frequently in hiring and in all different avenues and channels of careers. I always ask people, give me 3 words that describe you. Once they provide me with the words so that I can get a feel for their culture and obviously their level of emotional intelligence, I'll ask them to reflect back and say, so if I asked a family member, your best friend, would they be the same 3 words? What 3 words would they give me? And it is actually a question that stumps many, but it's so simple. So I can really reflect on that brand before you go into an interview environment. So working on the elevator pitch, we're still, I think, a little bit in the same space, but working on that elevator pitch, that definitely, especially in business roles where you need to capture the fact that you can promote your brand and who you are very quickly. There are some leaders that really value this tool. So I would highly encourage you to practice it. I'm not necessarily getting the lift, but time yourself, make sure it's precise, make sure that you actually think about, what you're saying and what you have to offer and why you. Sam?
Yeah, no, absolutely agree. And I think the careers advisors at Macquarie Uni are really great in helping you out with this. So step 1 is obviously working out who you are, as we talked about in that previous slide. And then secondly is putting it all together in a concise 30-second summary. The thing I want you all to be thinking about is when you're in an interview situation, you're never, or very, very rarely, the only person being interviewed for that role. So when you're preparing your elevator pitch, you want to be thinking, what is going to last in those employers' minds that sets you apart from everyone else that's sitting in that room being interviewed? You don't want scandal, you just want something that resonates and that they sort of are left thinking, that was impressive, or, like 10 interviews later that they're still saying, what about that person or that candidate that said, I can't give you an example, but you know what I'm saying. You want to be the one that's left lingering in their minds. So that elevator pitch is a really important part in that. And I think it's really worth sitting down and spending time creating a 30-second summary of who you are and what you're about, just in that, for that opportunity.
And on the why you side of things, I've always encouraged people to jump on and have a look at who had that particular job before you, or that job goal that you want. And have a little bit about a look at their career journey, because it may give you tips of connecting with that hiring manager. Maybe they've worked for an organisation that you've always aspired to. So yeah, it's all about that research and knowing what you're up to. So 7, think about your next career step, technical soft skills and what you need to get there. I think it is really about, I suppose, skipping on from that last comment about having a look at the role and who's in it now and what was their career journey. It will give you some ideas to what you should be presenting in your particular interview that will connect to where you want to go. So proactive learning is another one I would encourage. So as researching the organisation, but looking at courses and things like that are maybe not necessarily uni, maybe they're LinkedIn learning, which you may have access to. Lots of different ways to learn more about the career journey you want to do.
Yeah, that's exactly right. So if you go through Employability Connect, there's all sorts of resources there that are available to help you in this journey. Those technicals and soft skills we talk about all the time. And there's 14 that we encourage you to really have a look at and assess where you are personally on that journey. Now, most of you, you'll find, have sort of ticked the box when it comes to 9 of the 14. There's things like teamwork. There's, oh my gosh, I had a total blank. There's all sorts of things there. There's 14 skills that we suggest that you really concentrate on developing while you're at university. Your communication skills, your resilience, they're all coming back now, thank goodness. So have a look at that. All that information is there. The facilities are there for you to really develop a strong understanding of what's going to help you land the perfect job.
Okay, social media presence. This is a bit of a hot topic, isn't it, Sam, this one? So with regards to it's so important, not something that was quite around, when I was applying for jobs, but right now we've had situations where people have applied for roles. The company has actually researched and we're able to find things on people. So make sure you check your privacy settings, make sure that you actually, the brand you want to put forward is what you're presenting. So the things that they can see are the person that you want them to see. The other tip I would sort of add to that is that if there is anything, I'll go to the example. So we had a fantastic media communications student who was super keen to get into one of our employers, a television station. They did actually research this person. It turned out this person had actually shared something they didn't have permission to do. Totally unknown. Obviously, they didn't realise it, but it was really disappointing because they would have been fantastic at the role, but were immediately ruled out. So be mindful of all those profiles, review them, think about your brand, where are you at?
Yeah, I promise you, an employer that's about to pay you, anywhere between $60,000 to $80,000 as a graduate is going to research you. They're going straight to Instagram, they're going to Snapchat, not Snapchat, but they're going to TikTok, they're going to all those social media platforms, and they will, for lack of a better word, stalk you. They want to understand who they are employing. So, it's great while you're 17, 18, 19, chugging down a yard glass. It's all a bit of fun. But by the time you get into your early 20s and you're looking to make an impact on the world and your environment and working, that all needs to be cleaned up. So just be conscious of it. How do you want to be seen by someone that's looking to employ you, that's looking to pay you a lot of money, and they want someone respectable. So just be mindful. It doesn't mean you need to worry about it now, but those things stick around. So be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Engaging in passive learning. This is a really, free, turn around, do it in your spare time, maybe listen to TED Talks on the bus, listen to podcasts, reading industry publications, following different industry channels on LinkedIn is a great one. There's so many areas to do a little bit of passive learning. Some of these things you can actually share back to your LinkedIn profile. You can say that, you know, you sat through this particular course that's on LinkedIn, and you become badges on your profile. So even the TED Talks also can be shared. I think this is a way of building your brand, but also presenting the culture and how you think and I guess what career journey you aspire to.
Yep, definitely. I mean, our free time, like the whole world has changed in the last 2 years. And I think we're open to all sorts of television and entertainment services now. But, you know, if you set aside Monday nights or Wednesday nights instead of flicking on Netflix and doing a bit of research into what it is that you're interested in doing going forward, it can only benefit you, you know, a lot more than the latest inventing on a show or whatever it is that's going on out there in TV land. So I will really encourage you to do that. It's not hard to find information. It is absolutely everywhere. And, you know, you'll probably find you enjoy it and you're sort of learning just as you're enjoying. So.
Yeah, so my favorite question in an interview to try and understand what people do outside their, you know, their current roles or their, I guess their current studies is, you know, tell me a little bit about how you stay current. Now, staying current doesn't necessarily mean what you've been told by one of your friends. It can mean that you're following in particular influencers in certain fields, and it is a great question because there's so many different industries are moving so quickly. They're changing, they're evolving, especially technology, supply chain, logistics, well, the list goes on, the creative areas, all of them. So knowing who is, I guess, an influencer or somebody at the front and following those people, whether it be on all different social media channels, highly encourage it. And it's a great way to answer that really easily.
Yeah.
Building your employability through volunteering, SEEK programs that on campus or externally. This is not only an avenue for building your employability skills and your personal brand, it's a way to contribute back to the community, and for the most part, it just feels good, right? So we're really huge on that. I'm going to go into an example where recently we had 700 applications. We only, I think, had 12 roles open, but we had to sift through all of those applications. We got it down to around about the 100 mark, but we still needed to get it down a lot further than that. So the next step was basically to go through, and anybody who had done active registered community service, there's some examples of that. There's definitely things on campus, but externally it could be life-saving, self-life-saving, it could be, there's so many of them, we all know them, just Google volunteering, but it was what the short list, that's what it included, only those people who gave back to different community areas. One of the things about that is it shows your culture and I guess what you value and your capability to collaborate.
Definitely. I just see Eric has added the link there. By all means, join that. But the other thing is life is busy, and quite often we're finding that students that have come through high school and are now at university haven't had an opportunity to actually do any paid experienced work, whether it just be, you know, a casual job in retail or whatever. So the volunteering is a really good opportunity to enhance your resume and to demonstrate your skills, especially those skills we talk about as transferable, your working in teams, your ability to communicate with people, your resilience. Working and volunteering is a great opportunity to enhance that resume. So keep it in mind, especially if you're finding that your work experience to date hasn't been particularly strong. There's plenty of opportunities actually at the university. You don't even have to leave campus. So keep your eye out for that, and it is a great way to enhance who you are.
Okay. Finding a mentor. Now, this one's actually a really interesting one. Finding a mentor doesn't necessarily have to be somebody in a work environment. It could be a family friend. It could be somebody that you've met through university that you really feel that they make you think differently. They expand your horizons. They're great to, you respect their opinion, I think is the key to finding a good mentor. I believe that you can have several different mentors throughout your life, but you also can have a couple of different mentors in certain situations. Maybe you've got a leader mentor, somebody who is a leader that whenever you wish to talk about, how do I become a good leader, that person is great to talk to and really respect their opinion. Or it may be an industry expert, so that's more around the more technical side of things. But it is a really great thing to have that person that you can have conversations with and respect the feedback that you're given.
That's right, I agree. And while we find a mentor, and it is a really fabulous aid in your career, it's never simple. So don't feel like, okay, great, I like this lecturer, that'll do, that can be my mentor. You've got to look beyond and kind of consider where you want to go with your career and your life. And while yes, it's great to have someone that you can talk to, you also want someone that you can, that will help you achieve your goals. Like, you're young now, but you might be thinking at 55 you'd like to be on the board of 6 companies, and that's how you'll earn your income. You need someone that's going to help you sort of say, okay, you need this, you need that, here's your experience. So you actually need to invest a lot of time researching. A mentor will stay with you for 20 to 30 years throughout your career. So find someone that you trust, whose career you have respected and watched, even if it's a family friend that you had dinner with, or your parents have talked about. It's a really fabulous aid in your career journey, and someone who's experienced is always going to help you.
Yeah, absolutely. Researching organisations, it's really good to, before you enter any applications, or especially at interview phases, make sure that you have researched the companies, checked out their website. LinkedIn, fabulous tool for looking at all sorts of things. Read the reviews on Seek and Glassdoor. So Seek can, if you actually look up a company, you can turn around and put company reviews, and you can see feedback from other employees that either are currently there or left. Be aware that when they write those reviews, it's usually about people with the loudest voice. It may not necessarily have encompassed every single person that has worked there, but it is definitely worth a spot to know a little bit about the organisation. Glassdoor is becoming a very active tool. In Australia, it's probably not as prominent, but throughout APAC and Europe, it's massive. So if you are looking in other markets, it may have a bit more information other than the local Australian organisations. So, but definitely a global tool. Just short, Google, company annual report, capability and sustainability statements, vision and values. All of the Wesfarmers organisations, very big on vision and values, and they say a lot about the organisation and what it wants to achieve, especially from a cultural perspective.
Okay, and with regard to this, when you are researching the companies, I think a lot of people default to the big multinationals and the top companies. You get great experience in these companies. There is no doubt about that. But it's sort of minimised. If you go in as an accounts receivable, you'll find that you sort of stay in that area. If you're with a smaller company, you can tend to be exposed to a lot more. So you could be exposed to, you've got an accounts receivable role, they actually need someone in accounts payable, and, whoever it is sick today. So you get an opportunity to expand your knowledge. So yes, I get the multinationals are desirable, but don't overlook those smaller organisations. And I'm not talking the little tinies, I'm talking about the second and third tier organisations as well. So, the mum and dad setups, the partnerships, the sole traders, it's invaluable what you can learn in these organisations. So don't just be looking to the big guns. I know it's, a badge of honour on your chest, but it's also sort of it can bookend you, and you can sort of be limited with what you can learn in these places. So just be mindful as you're researching the companies to go beyond the obvious stuff and the obvious ones.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of that is much more about hands-on experience, right? So being flexible, I guess building on that last one is being flexible. Sometimes there are stepping stone roles. So definitely don't just put yourself into a little box. If you're actually particularly keen on a certain organisation, you might be better to go into one area and move. Once you're actually in, you do have access to all of their roles open. Generally, organisations have to review all internal applications and see them as a priority. You already know the systems, you already know how the networks within the organisation, so it is a step in the door, even if it's just from a baseline such as that. I can add an example to that. In my previous career, I was with Henkel, and I frequently put interns into supply chain, and that particular hop over, they often went into finance and became business controllers, reporting into the financial controller. So not the direct path, but definitely was a fabulous path, and I'm pretty sure that 3 crossed over that I'm aware of. So yes, Sam?
Yeah, no, it's very true. I think it is really important to stay flexible in all aspects of what you're looking for, because you just don't know where the next opportunity is going to lead you. So be flexible. It's a really important trait. And, you know, not everyone can work at that particular company at that particular time. So you just never know where, you know, whatever role it is can take you. The world is your oyster and you're in a good place. So to keep your eyes open to all sorts of different places and opportunities.
Yeah, agree. All opportunities are opportunities, right? Customising your cover letter, tweak your resume. Look, I can never emphasise this one too much. Do not send off your CV and resume exactly the same every time. Companies will realise if you've put Sue from Deloitte's on there and all of a sudden you're applying to Ernst & Young. It does happen, and I hate to say how many times I've seen it, but it would be the first thing that would rule a candidate out. Something as simple as just putting on the wrong person that it's addressed to. So yeah, definitely make sure you review it before you do.
What's really important here, and this number 14, is that you understand that when you apply for a role, there could be potentially 100 other candidates applying for that role. Now, I feel, and most talent advisors and recruitment people have an obligation to look at everyone's resume, but I give you 5 to 10 seconds, which is not a long time for you to impress me. But I need to have the job requirements addressed. I want to understand that you know and you've bothered to look at what you're going for in the role, and I want to understand how you can relate your experience back to that role. So important to have it in your cover letter. With regard to your resume, clear, concise. Don't make me look for when you're going to have to graduate. I want to know straight up. I want to know where you're at in your progression. I want to know what you're studying. So don't hide it. It's you know, the one factor more often than not that when companies come to ask, they're looking for people for their organisation that are currently studying economics or currently studying commerce with a marketing major. Make it easy for us so that we can put you straight through. If I've got to spend extra time doing it, it becomes a frustrated situation. So
absolutely clear. I like white space, Sam.
Yeah. White space. But just be mindful that the people at the other end of your resume are giving you time, but make it easy for them. Like don't if you're on a visa, just tell me what the visa is, but don't tell me I'm on a 500. Tell me what your visa means. I can work. I'll be in Australia 3 years after I graduate. Whatever it is, make it easy so that I can sell you into the employer like easily for you as well. So just be mindful of that. It doesn't need to look pretty. It needs to tell me information.
Yeah, and connect your cover letter. Your cover letter should actually connect you directly to the job. Do not ever rehash your CV. And look, you know, at a graduate level, it's a one-pager. It really does. If it's an essay, I probably would pass it by. I'm not going to read 2-3 pages of a cover letter. I'm more focused on reading your resume. And I go to your cover letter usually for those add-on things that will give me a little bit of insight into you, why you want the role.
Okay, Heba's just raised a hand. Would you like to ask a question?
Yeah, so you were just mentioning about the visa thing, like, you know, so for instance, like I just recently graduated and I'm filing my 485 visa, which is a postgraduate work visa for 3 years. So do we really need to mention it in our cover letter or resume?
Okay, you need to remember that you're not applying to me. So I know what your 485 means. I know what a 500 means, but a lot of employers don't. So I don't think it's hard for you to say, and it certainly doesn't take up much of the white space on your resume to tell me what it is, because you're making it easy.
Okay.
Yeah.
So like, because I never heard like somebody, I'm sorry, so I've never heard like somebody actually mentioning a visa, because this is something I heard it for the first time, and it's like a pinpointer, which I'm just putting it in my notes. Okay, this is something new. I can definitely work on that.
Well, because especially if you're applying through MQSE, which is us, right? So it's great for us to see. And more often than not, we will send your resumes off to employers, and they'll come straight back to us and say, can you let me know if they're a permanent resident or they're on a 485 or a 500, so that I know what I'm in for. So I guess I speak specifically for MQSE when I say to you, let us know what visas you're on. I think if you're applying beyond that on a, through Seek or LinkedIn, it may specify that they want to know if you're a traveller or an international student or whatever it is. But I speak specifically when you're dealing through MQSE, because more often than not, employers come straight back to us and say, who is this?
I can speak
employ them for the next 10 years. So
I can speak on behalf of recruiting internationals. So in my life at Henkel, I recruited a lot of internationals, especially graduate roles, and some of them we brought in directly from overseas. So my suggestion would be just always write it in your cover letter. So I don't see it as something that needs to be on your actual resume. But for me, I would, if I read through and I kind of picked up on a CV that somebody may be an international, I would probably refer then to the cover letter to get that information. And in that, it can give you a little bit more room to turn around and brief that, I currently can work full time for up to 3 years. At that time, I will be applying for permanent residency. So I would steer you in that direction. Every organisation is going to be different. So that is how I have tended to review CVs and find out the information. But I agreed it has to be there somewhere. I just think it makes it simpler for the hiring manager to know exactly who you are, where you're at, what your intentions are. Can you only work 20 hours a week, or can you work 40? Okay.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
So like basically,
we'll get on with that. Oh, sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
Thank you. We'll keep going. We'll answer some more questions at the end.
Yeah, we're up to number 15, so we will have some time to have a bit chat further on any points that you would like to explore further. So looking to invest. Look, this is a really interesting one. I'm looking to look to invest in an interview outfit and shoes, and I may use that for video interviews as well. It is your first contact as soon as they can see you. The hiring manager, you want to put your best foot forward. This is about feeling the part. If you're sitting even at a video interview and you're actually dressed as if you actually already have the job, it gives you confidence. So definitely, I think it's a key one. Sam?
I agree. I think you do feel better when you're dressed better, but, that might be a personal preference. But if you're being interviewed via Zoom, which so many of us are now, and you're wearing a T-shirt, it does kind of suggest that you're a bit casual about what's being undertaken. So I would suggest you do dress up. I think it's important to have a good shirt, definitely, for a Zoom interview. The other really important thing that I know I've already said, but make eye contact. Like it makes a difference. So, even though you think you're not looking, but, if you're looking down at your phone or you're distracted, I'm seeing it because I'm invested in you and I'm interviewing you. And if you're not giving it back and you're not engaging with me, I'm very aware of it straight away.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's all about back to that confidence, which we mentioned up front. So, put your best foot forward and think about how you do that and feel most comfortable and confident. Okay, a little bit about us. So you can scan the QR code. It will send you through to the page that we have shown on the screen. Lots of resources here. Please check it out. We're here to help. There's all different and you can look into PACE. You can learn a little bit more about how you can build your skills through PACE. We obviously have the careers team who are there always to support and help you build your skills towards being the most employable you. It is the home for all the help with regards to jobs and I guess the end game of studying. So one of the things I'd like to just share with you is a little bit of information around the Jobready Club. The Jobready Club is something that we've designed aligned with a regular recruitment process, so how corporates do it or how most corporates do it. So we have basically a briefing which explains what the expectations are and it moves it through the process the same as you would if you applied for a job externally. Really great way to practice. Talk to talent advisors about your resume and CV, get a bit of feedback, definitely coach to confidence and get the insight into tips and tricks from people that have sat on the other side of the interview panel. So it's really worth looking at and Sam will run through the process for you.
So if you did do that QR code and you scanned in there, all the details will be to join. The first step in the process is to attend a Jobready workshop. It goes for about 45 minutes and we just go through, the job process, how to find, the ideal job for you, how to prepare yourself for what lies ahead in the job hunting process. So that's number one. Following that, you'll go away and you'll develop your resume and a cover letter. You'll answer I guess we call it a mock job spec. So you'll prepare that. That will be submitted to us and you can book an interview in for an intake interview, which is a half-hour interview session with us. We go through 4 questions that you're more than likely going to be asked in an interview situation. You'll answer it and we'll give you some personalised feedback on how you're answering your questions, how well you are prepared to go ahead and to start job hunting. We'll also, during that session, go through your resume with you just to make sure that, everything's sort of aligned well and it's set up, looks good. We'll just spend 10 minutes on that and just go through any questions you might have. And then, yes, you're in the Jobready Club, which is great. We send out an email once a week with all the jobs that are currently advertised through us. It is changing all the time and we are inundated with roles for you. So please have a look at it. When you're ready, join the Jobready Club and you'll be privy to all that information.
Yeah, and I think too, another tool that being part of the Jobready Club is that if for some reason you do go for an interview or maybe it didn't feel that it went as well as what you hoped, maybe you would like to come and talk to us about some of the interview questions, how you actually answered them. We can give you a bit of feedback to whether we think what you said was appropriate or whether it was the right answer. Obviously we're not on the inside of that organisation, but we will get a bit of a feel that, yeah, that was a great answer. I honestly believe you did put your best foot forward in that, or, hey, you actually missed out on some of the key things that they were interested in. They wanted to know that you were great at collaborating. They wanted to know that you were okay with initiating change, things like that. So it's definitely a tool that is really great to support you in launching your career.
For sure.
That's another support, Sam.
Yep, exactly. Well, that's what you can do now. So log in, join that. There's all the information on Employability Connect, all sorts of information as I've discussed throughout this presentation, workshops, resumes, interview advice. We've got the best career advisors that can help you on your way through with your specific field of choice. We're there to help you with getting employment. There's no reason for you not to be excelling and exceeding in whatever it is you choose to do. We are specifically here for you, the students of Macquarie, and you've got a lot of expertise at your fingertips, so take advantage of it.
And there's always our Facebook group. Well, we're actually just recently relaunched this. Apparently it did exist a while back. So if you did see it disappear, it is back. So please, I have put the link on here. So we will be sharing this document with you for those that attended only. So you'll be able to jump on there. So tips, tricks, new jobs. We've got lots of grad roles going on there on the moment, intern roles going. It's actually a really hot space at the moment. Lots of creativity is going into launching it so that we can share the information, but hopefully make it interesting as well. So we hope to definitely see you on there, and you can turn around and direct message us or post thoughts. If you've been for an interview, maybe we can open a discussion on what was the toughest interview question. Anyways, that's a little bit about our Facebook game group.
Yes, and the big Meet Careers Fair is coming up. Thank goodness we are back to face-to-face. So it's a great opportunity for you to get down to the Convention Centre at Darling Harbour, go through and meet all the different employers in all different industries, find out about different positions available, different work that's around and available for you. It's a great opportunity to have a social catch up with so many different employers. Macquarie is also represented there, and you'll be able to meet and chat with some of our career advisors while you're there too. So that's Thursday the 24th, 2 weeks away. Time is flying. So have a look into that and see if it's appealing. Grab some mates and go down and actually be seeing people and human beings for a change.
I have to say, I don't know if anybody else is cracking up to the voice to text, but apparently Careers Fair turned into Curious Fairy. Anyway, sorry, I just thought I'd mention that, guys. It got your attention, didn't it? The Curious Fairy that we're presenting.
It's might be the way I speak, Mel. Anyway, there's that QR code. Emily, you were looking for that again. So scan into that, and it'd be really nice to meet you. You'll more than likely be meeting myself or Sina, and we'll take you through that process, the interview, and it'll be great. We look forward to helping you out.
Yeah, so Employability Connect team who are hiding in the back there, is there any questions that we need to answer still, or does anybody want to come out and ask us a question? I think we covered everything. We did cover a lot.
Certainly did.
That's all right.
And Mel, there is a question from Anna. Would you have to go through the Jobready entry program each semester, or once you're in, you're in? Would you like to speak to that, to address that?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks, Sue. Yeah, no, you don't. Once you've done it, you've done it. We're hoping that we support you so well that you are ready to launch. Of course, even if you wanted a refresher the following year, or maybe you join the Jobready Club in your first year of your university journey and you think, well, hang on, I just want to catch up. I'm about to launch. I'm in my 4th year. Please reach out. We're there for you. But no, absolutely. Registering with MQSE gives you access not only to all the corporate jobs. We've had, Sam can fill me in here, we've had dog walking, we've got bar work, we've had working for Sephora, if somebody has a passion for makeup. We had, I believe at the moment, there's roles that are supporting the upcoming elections. If, you know, you're passionate about political side of things, there's lots of jobs on there. So yeah, jump on, have a look.
The other thing that I haven't mentioned that I need to is, once you've finished that Jobready Club and you've gone through it, you've done your intake interview with myself or Sina, you're actually tagged in our database as having completed the process. And more often than not, if there's a role that's relevant to you, we'll run it by you. We'll send you an email just saying, I've just seen this, it sounds like a good fit for you. Are you interested? And we can fast track you through to a shortlist. So it does make things a little bit easier on that side of things. Like, obviously, there's a lot of people that are applying, but it just sort of shortens that process. It also means if we've got an employer desperately looking for a marketing assistant next week, we can just go straight to our database of people that are already pre-qualified. So it does make things a lot easier. It's a great little program. And as I said, it's designed there for you. So by all means, take advantage of it. Doesn't cost anything. You don't have to do it every semester, as Mel said. So it's worthwhile doing.
Yeah, and I think just the fact that we probably know you that little bit better, it's much easier to promote you up front. So I was in a meeting this morning with an employer where the particular person that they were describing they wanted was somebody I actually recently spoke with. So straight off I said, well, actually, I do know somebody that would be really eligible for this role, so I'll reach out. And I think that it sounds fantastic from an employer's perspective because I've already told them a little bit about a person I see as a match. But B, straight away, I reach out to that person on and say, hey, guess what? This role sounds like you. So great way for us to support and market you in. So it very much so getting to know you. Any other questions?
Yeah, I just had a quick one. Thank you so much as well, Sam and Mel. I found that to be really helpful, the presentation. But I wanted to know, I suppose, when I should start actively applying for various roles within my industry. So I'm only second year into a 4-year degree, but I have, I suppose, well, I'm 26. I've got now 8 years employment experience as well. So I wasn't too sure if that would be taken into account to like those more basic entry level roles as well in various fields that I might be interested in.
Oh, absolutely. Look, I think I'm guessing that you're doing a career change, right? So you've done your 8 years, now you're starting and you're looking to do a career change. And everything that you've already done has already built the employable you. So you've already got the skills in so many ways. Do I think that you should start? The only thing I would be thinking about is if you did get a full-time role, are you okay to go part-time? Is that going to be okay for you to juggle? It depends on the type of role you get. The market is really hot out at the moment. Joel, if you are looking to say, hey, I want to do part-time, or I would like to only work full-time during university breaks, etc., I'd start employing. I would start applying and I would be putting that into your cover letter. Just look like I'm currently doing, I do have work history. However, I am looking to change my career journey. This is what I'm studying. I'm definitely open to working part-time during uni if that's what you want to do. You can also work full-time. But I would, during university breaks and recesses, would be really keen to work full-time also. So I currently recently worked with an engineering student. So she, I believe this year is the 3rd year. In her 2nd year, she took on a role with Stocklands, I think it was. So during the university term, she works 15 hours, but during all her breaks, she works full-time. So those roles are out there, but it is about sort of putting your best foot forward and seeing whether they've got the ability to be flexible. Organisations don't necessarily not do it as a rule. It's just that have they got the ability? Do they believe that the role has full-time capacity and they have nobody else to carry that load? So that's the only time where I see that they would not be flexible. Does that help, Joel?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think I'll start having a look. And
it comes down to your capacity, Joel. It just depends on what you think you can take on. It's not easy to start a new role, especially if you are changing what you have been doing in the past. What I would say to you is definitely take advantage of the fact that you have got 8 years work experience and highlight those, I've talked about it a lot today, those transferable skills and how you work with people and relate and what you can take from your prior work experience into your new role and what you're looking for. So those 8 years aren't redundant. You've just got to be clever about how you sell them in. Okay, I think you're really on the front foot with that experience because so many of your colleagues, let's call them colleagues or fellow students, don't have that experience. So you've got to be really clever about how you market yourself.
Yeah, sure. We can help with that, Joel. So register and we'll definitely walk you through what we think.
Yeah, we'll do. Awesome. Thanks for that.
Look forward to seeing you. Anyone else want to ask a question?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind asking a question regarding business culture and fit in a small and then comparing that to a larger company, because from my personal experience and from what I've heard from people who have worked, they've worked in smaller companies and then they've gone around to other smaller companies. And then when they've tried to hop across to a larger firm, that larger firm doesn't give them a chance because of the difference in the culture and the fit. In a smaller firm, like those firms you're probably advertising, there's like maybe 30 to 40 employees. Maybe they're going through rapid growth and a lot of people are joining. But you know those people, you know everyone. You come in, you see them every single day. But business, large business, that changes so frequently. And you can hop around to different departments. So what I think, and I think if you're nodding, you probably realize that
Yeah, I do.
what I'm trying to say is, if you go into small business, you may get stuck into it, but also vice versa. Maybe actually a small business out of both would be more willing to give you a chance because they want that talented personnel, whereas a large business has to be more stringent probably on the people they hire.
Yeah, that's an interesting one. So in my experience, I probably mostly large organisations. So I found that smaller people that had been stuck, say, for a period of time in smaller organisations were not aware of some of the rules and regulations that big organisations have to play under. Compliance, for example, knowing that there's a process, knowing that there's a 4 eyes review of every single particular document, data privacy laws, legal ramifications for things like that. So I know very frequently I would have that. You are 100% correct, where old leaders that would turn around and say, look, I can't accept that. So I think if you are doing a smaller organisation, you are right, do not get stuck there. So if you've made the choice to do a smaller organisation, I agree with Sam, you get a lot of hands-on and broad scope of experience. I think that is definitely the case. But once you kind of get to that 3 to 5 year mark, if your goal is actually to work for one of the big hitters, it's time to change, and it's time to actually drive towards that. Don't get stuck. And that's the same in industry channels though. So if for example, you're stuck in FMCG, stay there.
I think it works both ways. So if you're with a big organisation, and as I sort of explained to you during the presentation, if you're sort of limited to what you are exposed to, I'm going to look at your resume, even though you've been at, I don't know, Price Waterhouse, or you've been at Lendlease, or I'm going to go, you know what, they're so stringent on what they've learned that it's going to be difficult for them to adapt to a smaller organisation. So it all comes down to that resume and how you sell yourself. So, and what you take out of your learnings in wherever it is that you have worked. So, good considerations and a lot to think about. But I think the crux of what I was trying to say to you was the big organisations aren't always the end-all and be-all, and be open to smaller organisations because you will be exposed to a lot more.
Better. And then also, just coming back to the previous person that talked, if you're in your 2nd year or out of your 4th, there might be what are called development programs available to you.
Absolutely.
They may not be an internship, but a company may offer a development program to get, to develop a feel and to try and see if you might be a potential fit. And then if you're in 3rd year and you're looking to find a full-time job when you're about to graduate, I think you can probably start applying in your 2nd to last semester of university.
Yeah.
Depending on your study load, of course.
Yeah, it's balancing it, isn't it? And there's also the PACE programs, right? So they're a really great way to, get out there. And a lot of the PACE opportunities now are paid. So there are some that aren't, but there are lots, especially in the fields that are really, really tight. So at the moment, the IT organisations are all using things like that as a pipeline. So, yeah. Anyone else got any questions that are burning? We've only got apparently 2 minutes left to go. We might have to set up another one of these so we can chat more. But...
Yes, I have one question. So I'm doing bachelor in brain science and psychology. So I'm actually I'm 42. I've worked in logistics, exporting, importing industry for over 20 years. Yeah. Then I became a mom. And so for 2 years, I decided to be a full-time mom and decided to go back to study. I'm just doing one subject. So, to cope with everything. Yeah. And I'm now so looking for to go back to work. Yeah. But then what I found is when I, now going back to work, it's sometimes I'm overqualified or you were studying as well. So now we can't really, offer you a job, or, you've been for 2 years, out of the industry. I'm finding like a bunch of like answers, which is
when do you graduate, Maria?
Well, I graduated in 2000 and when I graduate.
Yeah, this role that you started this now.
Oh, I only started, so it's my
only
first
just
year.
started. Okay, all right. So maybe it's just about applying something that's a bit of a connector role. If you're looking to get into the psychology field, recently I have had, it is an area that there's a lot of demand. Obviously, everything that's happened in the last couple of years has impacted that. So I've had conversations with quite a few different employers at the moment that use roles such as reception and administration within a clinic, a psychology clinic, and they're using that as a pathway in. So you're kind of in the environment and getting exposure. I spoke with somebody this morning from a particular wellness clinic that used an example of how they had actually launched quite a few people into the psychology field through that pathway. So maybe that would be something to think about. We do have those roles. The role that I'm talking about is going on MQSE today. I believe it is a 3-day role though at the moment, and I'm not sure of the hours. So you'd have to, but there is another student who's doing the other 2 days. So it may be a fantastic role for you.
Yes.
Could put you in the environment. So there is channels. You've just got to think a little bit outside the box. So if it says that it's a reception role and it's in a psychology environment, I think I would go, right? That would be my thoughts. Maybe not be the long term, but it definitely could be a great interim to get your foot and get yourself in that space.
Definitely. Oh, thank you so much. Yep. Okay.
Pleasure.
Thanks, Maria.
Can I have a quick question, if that's okay?
Last one, I think, the day.
Yeah. So basically, I had a question regarding like casual jobs. So is it because since I'm an international student, so I don't know. Some people say it's actually good to put casual jobs experience in your professional one as well, and some says it doesn't really matter. So what's your take on that?
I think it's really important to include any experience you've done casually, especially because you're at university. So no one's really expecting you to have a big corporate high-flying job at this point in time. But if you can demonstrate that you have a good, strong work ethic, that you've been working at a place for however long, that you've developed some of those workable employability skills, I think it's really important and you should always include it. And I think the smart thing to do when you include it is include what you've learnt in those roles. You can learn so much just having a pizza delivery job. You learn patience, you learn organisation.
Absolutely.
You need to depend on people. Rather than just saying I'm a Domino's pizza delivery, you say I have learnt patience and I've learnt to work for management and I've learnt to get along with my colleagues and I've learnt punctuality and how important it is for people to depend on me. So I think you just need to take advantage of the fact that you've got that work experience and be sensible about how you put it on your resume.
Yeah, because I came from a corporate background as well, because before starting my postgrad, I worked in my own country for about 3 years in corporate and agencies as well. So of course, this was a new level of experience at the same time while being a student. And then you have to, of course, pay your own bills at the same time, manage to, pay your fees at the same time. That too during pandemic. That was the biggest challenge, I suppose.
Yeah, for everybody.
Exactly. Starting from Uber Eats, having no job anywhere during the lockdowns, and then ended up being a barista. So from digital marketeer, I was a barista and a waitress and the front of the house. So
and you think about what you've learned.
Yeah.
You think about what you've learned in those 3 jobs and through that progression. I mean, any progression's great when we're developing ourselves and who we are. And, you take advantage of that and you sell that to people because it's important. It means you can confront the general public. You know how to talk to people. There's a lot of skills that you've learned that you can't just dismiss because it doesn't sound fancy.
I think it's just about using keywords, right? So don't turn around and write an essay on those types of roles. They need to be short and snappy, things that are customer service, ability to initiate change, understand how to follow guidelines, things like that, being able to problem solve. Think about it from like just key. Have a look at the skills. It definitely would be great for you to join the Jobready Club and go through the process, because we'll be able to pull all of that out. And I'm sorry that we don't have more time now, but yeah. All right. Has anybody else got a burning question? Because I do actually have another meeting to jump to. Look, I would steer you back to the Employability Connect, and I would definitely encourage you to jump on, fill out your expression of interest and come and have a chat to us in MQSE. We are there for you, as we said, free and super keen to help. I guess that's the key.
All right. Thank you, everybody. We look forward to meeting with you soon.
No problem. Thank you, everyone.
Bye. Bye.
Thank you.